Going to work on changing the speedometer gear today, and what that entails is getting, first off, some new speedometer gears. So these are for that world-class T5 out of the Mustang. So I've got this kit off of eBay. So it comes with an assortment of gears depending on the teeth I need, tooth count, and then this kind of an updated aluminum fitting that goes in the transmission. I'm not exactly sure. I think I'll know more when I take it apart what that does, but I don't know. It's real common for them to come with that for some reason. So I'll show you where we're at in here. So on the transmission, where the speedometer cable comes into the transmission, so this little box here, so we take the cable off, we unscrew this little box here. I don't know what this is called, but it's like a little gear adapter thing. And then down in there you can see that bolt head right there. So once these two pieces are off, take the speedometer cable off, unscrew this piece off, then you're left with a little deal that goes in the transmission. And then we take that off and pop it out, and that should give us access to change that plastic gear in there. What I've done in an attempt to avoid draining the transmission, as you can see, I've lifted the back of the end of the pickup up as high as I can go. I've got my ramps and then also some blocks under there just to raise it up a little bit higher. So my hope is that's going to get enough fluid to run forward in the transmission that I won't lose a lot when I take this little fitting out. We'll see if I'm right or wrong on that here shortly. But I'm hoping that would make it a lot faster. I don't have to drain any transmission fluid out and refill it. If I lose a little bit and have to top it off, I don't mind that. But so we'll give it a try. I've got to go do some quick math and figure out what tooth count I want to put in there first before I take it apart. That way I'm ready to go. My thought is if fluid does come out, if I do this fast enough, I can get it put back together and corked back up in time to not lose a bunch as well. So I'll go do that real fast, and then we'll move to taking it apart. Okay, I think I'm all set. So what I found is a 18 tooth gear is going to be what I need. So you get this little adapter thing, and then the speedometer the speedometer cable will actually plug into this thing. It's got that square drive on it, so that should go in there like that. I put a little oil on it because that's going to have to lubricate itself when it's in there, so give it a little bit of lube for the first go round. You see it sticks out there, and that's where that screws into that. It's supposed to be anyway. So I don't remember when I took it apart for sure. So I've already got this kind of loosened up, so we'll just take the speedometer cable off like that. I broke this nut loose here, and I've got a drain pan down there already because I'm gonna make a mess regardless of what I do. So I figured catch some of it, or try to catch some of it anyway. So we'll take this off, and I don't know if fluid runs out right away with this, but I don't know if I just mentioned, but 18 tooth gear for 355 gears and a 28 inch tall tire. I believe that's what I need for this truck. So I might already said that, I don't remember, but yeah. So you got a little square drive in that. So that looks okay. So now we'll take, this is should be a 10 millimeter bolt on that. So this will take off a keeper tab, and I see that new one's got a keeper tab on it as well, or a spot for the keeper. So this comes off. So it's literally, that's just a metal tab on there. There isn't nothing to that, but other than making sure to put it back in the same spot. So now we'll reach in there. It's kind of nice. I'm doing this from the top because the transmission cover's out. So that should, and I have no idea how much force it takes to come out, and it's not. I think I'll put this thing back on it for now. That's going to give me a little more something to grab onto it with. There we go. So I'll take it. I know I had this out because I would have had to have it out when I did all the tail housing stuff, I think. Pretty positive. Well, I don't want to come out very good. Got a better spot here. There we go. So there we go. So it's, yeah, basically the same looking thing. I'm not sure why they sell these kits with this piece. I don't really see why the need to, I don't know why you'd need to replace that necessarily. Do those wear out? Oh, you know what? I bet they wear out and leak because the shaft goes through it. So if something were to wear over time, I could see that would leak. But this one wasn't leaking, so I don't know. I'm almost tempted to not replace it, but I'll go ahead. Hell, I'm not losing a bunch of fluid, so my tip job works. So I'm glad raising the back of the truck up keeps me from having that issue. So we'll get the new one here, and so this little tab that's on here, that needs to go towards the back because that's where how that little locker piece locks it into place. So we'll just slide that back in there. I made sure to oil up the O-ring as well. Otherwise you can score it or ruin it putting it back together, which we do not want. Tighten up my bolt there. Don't over tighten this because it is aluminum and it's tiny. Just good and snug. And then this little, I don't know, speedometer adapter, I don't know what this thing is. It's obviously needed. I guess this speedometer can't go right to that thing, so I guess it probably has something to do with the ratio of how fast it turns. So I don't know. All I know is it's on there and it's going back on there. So give this a good snug turn. I can get used to working on it from the top. This is kind of nice. I could see where this piece would leak. There's kind of a rubber grommet, almost like a hose, you know, goes in a garden hose in there. Yeah, so that's snug. Well, it's got some. Oh, that's it. The whole thing kind of wiggles actually, which I guess makes sense. The way this is, there's nothing that keeps. I don't know. You can see what I'm pointing at here. There's nothing that really keeps this tight in there. It's just the O-ring, and this keeper just keeps it from backing out, but it's not like it tightens into the transmission. So I guess wiggling up, that should wiggle, I guess. So we'll get the speedometer cable lined back up. So it's got a square drive, so you might have to twist it a little bit to get it to get these things to slide back into each other. So there we go. So assuming it doesn't leak like a sieve after I'm done, I'd say that was a success. And we'll put her back down on its tires, put it back level, and maybe I go for a test spin today. I'd be kind of curious how accurate it is. Although I'm not even doing 60 in this thing yet because I need the front end aligned, but I'm sure I can do 45 pretty safely. Okay, well, that was that. So assuming I didn't screw it up, we should be good to go. My battery box lid is missing one of the wires that actuate the lock, or the lock actuates the wires, whatever. So there's this piece here. There should be an identical one. I don't know if it's the exact same length or not. I haven't figured that out yet. But so I'm going to see if I can take some 3/16 rod that I bought, just some hardware store stuff, and bend something to work on the other end. I think I'm going to have to take this piece apart and hopefully not break these tabs when I do it, because there's got to be something to keep this wire from wanting to pop back out of there. Otherwise, it'd just fall out. So I'm guessing that maybe once I get the wire in here, I'll just peen the end over, and that'll keep it from walking out, or maybe take a my welder and just spot weld a little tab on it to keep it from coming back out. I was at first thought that I could just make a wire and just stab it down in there, but then I got to thinking, well, there's nothing to keep it from falling back out when it's in use. So I'm going to try to bend these little tabs here very carefully and see if I can't get the handle mechanism apart, and then see how this one's retained in there, and then maybe try to mimic that. And maybe if I might turn around, see if it's the same length, because then I could copy this exactly, or real close, rather than having to make my own dimensions over here. So it's got this weird wire bend in it. I'm not sure why it can't just go straight, but I'm not going to try to re-engineer it because they put it in there for a reason, so I'll try to do it. I have a couple parts pickups, a 55 and a 54, but they all have different, they have a smaller battery box lid. So this battery box lid is a 56 only piece, so I can't scavenge off of those. So not a big deal. I'll make my own here. I just bend it in a vise and hammer, whatever, pliers, nothing fancy to bend this rod. So we'll see how it goes here. Okay, I was able to get the little tab straightened, and what I found is actually easier to just use this kind of a heavy-duty chisel or something. I don't know what that is, scraper. That was nice and thin to get under the tabs to get them started. And out of all my pliers, these linemen's actually worked the best to grab those and straighten them out real easy, and didn't break any, so that's good. So now that I've got it off, I can see that I probably wouldn't have had to take it off, because I didn't think of this, which is not a surprise considering it's me. But so that wire's just bent, so it's got a little dog leg in it there, and that's what keeps that wire from falling out. So it doesn't have to be peened over or anything. I just need to, let me pull it out of there, you can see a little better. There you go. So it's just got one of those, so just bend it in there, and then so that's pretty easy. So here's a 54, 3 or 4. No, maybe that's out of a 55. I don't think it matters. I think those are all the same. So you can see the same concept would apply, although it's smaller in size. The mechanisms are all the same. So if you got to do this on the other years, then you could do the same concept. So I'll get a little tab bent like that and take this wire and I'm going to take the wire first, I guess, and put it over here and see if it's the same length. If it's not, I'll just add whatever difference it is and bend up another wire. So it's coming along pretty good. This little tab's broken here. I'll have to re-spot weld that, but that's no big deal. Making some more progress here, so I'll show you what I've got so far. So I'm just bending this in the vise, nothing fancy. I'm just pinching it in there and pulling it one way or the other. For these really tight turns, what I did was just take my chisel that I was using to bend these tabs, which this one didn't work very good, but I had it. So I just took it in while I was pinched in a vise, and just held the, held it like that, and just pinched it in the vise and pulled it around with my hand. So nothing fancy. But what I have found is this original one's not 3/16. It's must be a size smaller, so what, 1/4 inch or something. I don't see why this won't work, but I've ground the tip down, the part that slips into the factory piece. I just ground that down with my flapper disc so it'll slide in the into this piece here. So that works fine. So now I'll move into, this thing's got kind of a weird bend as it comes off that bracket. It kind of goes smooth against this and then out over there. So I've got to bend my end piece here, and then we'll get it dry fitted together and see how it works. But yeah, so far so good. All right, I'm all back together and I tested it and it actually works. So I'm pretty happy with that. The piece is obviously thicker, but don't see that really hurting anything. I'll show you how it operates there. Yep, nothing exciting. Good tight fit. Re-spot welded this little tab that was broken. Kind of had to do some finagling on the wire bending over here to get it to go in there, and then the tab being a decent enough spot because you got to have some space under there. So I, expect to bend that and tweak it as needed to fit in the truck. And I don't have a new gasket installed yet, so probably once I do that, I might have to bend these tabs a little bit to thicken them up to compress that. But so the hardest part, at least that I felt in doing this, was getting these tabs bent back over. And that's because this handle, it's just a piece of strip that just, the piece that goes over this handle is what the tabs are. So anytime I was hitting it, it was rolling it or popping it back out. I finally was able to separate the vise a bit and get it kind of pinched down in there enough to get some good hits on it with a punch to get those bent back over, but it didn't break any of them. Worst case scenario, I could have welded these in, which it, you know, not a big deal. I just didn't want to do that in case I did something wrong, needed to take it back apart again. As long as these tabs are still here, they're easy to bend and straighten versus grinding the weld out and not having anything left to weld again once you get it ground out. But no, I'm happy with this. Like I said, I don't know if you can buy these parts or a lid. I don't know what's options out there, but no point in buying it if I can fix it myself. So I think that'll work for now.